Greetings, all you dimensional shifters out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor. This is Undeclared Bajor, a Star Trek Deep Space Nine rewatch. My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Salutations.
Ooh. It's very Data.
Yeah.
Today we're going to recap, discuss, and rate Season 3, Episode 8, Meridian. Alternate title, Heartbreaks and Deepfakes.
No, that's good. I like that you incorporated both. I was trying to come up with a title that would involve Brigadoon. It's like Deep Space Nine-a-Doon, but I couldn't. There's nothing good there.
What is Brigadoon?
Brigadoon is what the episode is based on. It is a play about a Scottish city that appears once every 100 years.
Ah, interesting.
Or it's a musical. I'm sorry. It was a musical starring Gene Kelly.
Okay. Not based on a play?
I don't know. I was reading. Let's see. Brigadoon is a musical with a book and lyrics by Alan J. Lerner. No, it didn't mention that. Oh, well, this article is about the stage musical. For the film, go to this. So I guess it was a stage musical.
Okay. Interesting. Our discussion will contain full spoilers for the series up through the episode. However, we will try to keep spoilers for later in the series to an appropriate minimum. We won't reveal anything too big, like the iconic episode where Odo gets a job working at a candy factory.
Is he orange?
No. I was going for that I Love Lucy episode.
Okay.
I was looking for iconic TV moments to rip off, so I googled iconic TV moments.
That is, yeah. That one and like Lucy stomping on grapes are probably the two that from that show. But
it was all like the Apollo moon landing, and it's like the end of the Vietnam War.
Well, yeah.
I was like, no, I want like entertaining TV moments.
The Berlin Wall being torn down. Yeah, no, it's...
Screw that wall. Okay. This episode originally aired November 14th, 1994, or thereabouts. It was written by Mark Jared O'Connell, story by Hilary Bader, and Evan Carlos Summers. All a bunch of names that sound vaguely familiar, but I can't remember. I'm sure they've all done at least one episode before.
Well, hold on. Let's see what there is to see here. In the section that I like to call Who the Hell Are You?
Yeah. Who are these people?
So we got Mark Eugene O'Connell, formerly known as Mark Garrett O'Connell.
Yeah, right. That's how he's credited on this episode.
Four teleplays for 4 episodes of Deep Space Nine. He wrote both the story and teleplay, along with Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolf, for the second season episode Second Sight.
Oh boy. Okay, that explains a lot. What else we got?
And the other ones after this one, this is the second one that he did. He does 2 more that we haven't gotten to yet. One of which is Who Mourns for Morn, where he did the story.
Oh.
And he did one original story uncredited for an episode of The Next Generation. What episode? Timescape. Oh, that's the one where
time.
Yeah, where he draws the smiley face on the smoke. Yeah. Okay, so that's that fellow. Let's see. Hilary J. Bader.
Oh, Hilary J. Bader.
Writer who worked on The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. So she did 2 stories and 1 teleplay for The Next Generation, The Loss and Hero Worship. And then...
Oh yeah, Hero Worship, I remember that one.
She did the story for Rules of Acquisition back in Season 2.
Okay.
And then this one for Deep Space Nine. And she was a writer on the episode Dark Page of The Next Generation. And she did story for Battle Lines of Deep Space Nine. So, yeah, she's done a few. And Evan Carlos Summers. Yeah, okay, this is the guy who was like a quadriplegic, and like Melora is kind of...
okay.
But based on his experiences to some degree. And he did 3 episodes of Deep Space Nine, Battle Lines, Melora, and then this one.
Okay.
So yeah, we've seen each of these folks before, is the upshot, I think.
Yep. And it was directed by Jonathan Frakes. Who's that?
Apparently this is the second of 3 episodes that Jonathan Frakes will direct.
Yeah, he directed The Search Part 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. And he's going to direct Past Tense Part 2 when that comes. He directs 2 Part 2s and this one.
He's like, bring me in when someone has already set up most of the stuff. And then I'll just tell some people where to stand. And then cash that paycheck.
There's a fun note in here that this is the first episode with Jeffrey Combs as a guest star. And it says he originally auditioned for the role of William T. Riker on The Next Generation.
That would have been interesting.
Right? That would have been different. He was later cast as Tyrion by this episode's director, Jonathan Frakes. And then in parentheses, who actually got the part of Riker, in case you didn't know that.
Nice. Yeah, this is Jeffrey Combs' introduction to the Star Trek universe.
Yeah, it's great.
What an introduction. Eventually there came a point in the Star Trek, the era of Star Trek, when it looked like we were on path to have a show where every role was played by Jeffrey Combs.
I might well be there for that.
Star Trek Combs.
Yep, he's that good.
But unfortunately, I guess Enterprise got canceled before we got to that point.
Oh, well.
Oh. So yeah, let's dive into this episode. Kira is enjoying a nice cup of tea in the replimat with Odo, listening to his really gross-sounding story about the time he tried eating, when she is approached by a creepy alien guy who creepily hits on her. Welcome to the Star Trek universe, Jeffrey Combs.
he creeps real well. Like I am convinced by his creepiness.
You know, he commits to that role, just like he does to everything. Mm-hmm. So, bravo, Jeffrey Combs. To put off the creepy dude's advances, Kira plays like Odo is her lover, which Odo cooperates with a perfect poker face.
He's just so shocked and like, what is happening right now? For a minute, I was convinced that he actually thought that maybe this was the beginning of a relationship for them, and he just wasn't sure. He just didn't realize this is how it worked.
He's like, oh, lover? What? Yes, we are lovers. We love each other.
Lovers in the nighttime.
This is for real. Anyway, we cut to Commander's Log. First time for that, I think. We have to do an episode that takes place on a weird planet, so we're taking the Defiant out into the Gamma Quadrant. Exploring the Gamma Quadrant used to be someone else's job, but now it apparently falls to the crew of Deep Space Nine.
Well, you know, the Defiant is the only ship brave enough to go now.
Sure.
Because the Dominion's out there.
And as always happens when they just go out into the Gamma Quadrant for no reason, right on cue, Dax starts detecting something weird on her sensors. So it's like, okay, we're flying around the Gamma Quadrant, having a good time. Beep, 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 beep. Oh my goodness, what's this? So they fly to it. They arrive in a star system just in time to watch a planet appear out of nowhere. Which for a once in 60 years event.
Yep.
This is really good timing.
Hella timing. Just crazy.
Dax detects a settlement of approximately 30 humanoids, which soon begins to hail them. A lady appears on the screen and welcomes the crew to Meridian, named after the hometown of the inhabitants' favorite X-Men character, Rogue. Bet that blew your mind when our planet appeared out of nowhere, eh? Want to come join us for breakfast? Which at this point, like, Sisko's like, well, as long as we don't get sucked out before dessert or whatever.
I like that line because he delivers it in a way that's like, I'm joking, but at the same time, I'm kind of serious. Because I do need to know that.
I am kind of inquiring about that. When he said that, I was like, who eats dessert with breakfast? But this is apparently a very special breakfast.
Well, it's not breakfast so much as its first meal, because it's right. The first meal after they came back. It's not about the time of day.
Right. I assumed she meant breakfast when she said that, but
I guess technically they are breaking their fast of 60 years, so...
Yeah. I wonder if they just, like, prepare the meal before they get sucked out.
That would be funny. It's like, you gotta get the meal ready real quick so we can eat as soon as we pop in.
Right. So, yeah, the main crew all beam down and sit down with the Meridianites for a big meal. And, like, what is this set? It's like a big...
So, okay, there's notes about the set. There's actually several notes in here about the set.
I was just curious about the set the whole time.
So, this is the first episode that we've come to that has just an insane amount of detail about the production of this episode, and I don't want to hit on a lot of it, but it's just... Sure. Just as an example, there is outlined which day of the week day of the month and year, like the full date that the scenes in each location were filmed. So this, like the filming seems to have taken place over like, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. And it's like on this day they were here and on this day they were there and so on and so forth. All that detail is here. And then there's a bunch of stuff like, here's scenes that were rewritten or omitted, and they got like scene numbers and what the information we have about this scene that was either omitted or rewritten. It's just like an insane amount of detail. And there's a bunch of stuff like, this came up on the call sheet for this day. For this day, this other stuff's the one that struck out to me was one of the things has like Avery Brooks and Colm Meaney have to get a haircut after they filmed scenes for a different episode before filming the scenes for this episode. And I was just like, that is a lot of detail that I don't know that we necessarily need, but okay. So the garden set of Meridian is where Jadzia and Doral engage in a relationship.
Sure. Was
back at Huntington Garden, which we've talked about before.
Okay, that looked familiar, that part.
The village commons on Meridian were a reuse of the set for the Temple of Masca in the Next Generation episode Masks, and was on Paramount Stage 18.
Wasn't that also the Albino's house?
It was also the Albino's lair, and it was also the Great Hall in House of Quark.
Oh, okay.
But the backdrop that you can see outside the houses is a 270-degree backdrop borrowed from Walt Disney Studios, where it had originally been created to be used on Mary Poppins.
Huh. That's interesting.
Also, the aerial view of the settlement is a slightly changed reuse of the aerial view of the settlement in Birthright Part 2.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I was just noticing because like they're like in this kind of great hall thing with really high ceilings. I was like, did they go to a real building to film that, or was that like a set? So I guess they just have that big, tall, like, albino house set.
Yeah,
just constantly ready to shoot stuff like that on.
You're like, it's big. It's we can change it around. So yeah, I guess it works.
So Dax sits next to Goodwin from Lost, who is curious about her spots. Also, I want to call out the bare minimum effort used on these aliens in terms of makeup.
Yeah, I mean, she asks him about his markings or whatever, and it's just like, it's just a quick side of the head thing, and you're all good.
It's like, do you go to the same makeup lady I go to?
I have a wonder, I guess, a curiosity about this. Is it rude to be like, how far down do your spots go? That feels like a very forward question to me, but I don't know if it should be considered rude.
I think it should be considered rude to ask anybody what's going on under their clothes.
Okay, no, yeah, that's putting it like that. I could see it, yeah.
So, obviously we don't live in this great fantastical Star Trek universe where there's all these different aliens, but I think it's fair to ask, aliens questions about their race, but anything that they've chosen to cover up should be just kind of like, off limits.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But Goodwin's being all flirty, and Dax seems into it. So
yeah, she doesn't have the same boundaries as a lot of people do. So sure. I'm not surprised that she's like, kind of flirty about it. Also, there's just the classic. It's not necessarily creepy if you're attracted to the person who's asking it. You're just like, oh, okay, we're doing this,
right? But yeah, the people explain that the planet Meridian bounces back and forth between two dimensions. When they're in the other dimension, they exist as pure consciousness. And when they come back, it's like no time has passed at all. They only age in this dimension. Well, that sounds cool, say Bashir and O'Brien. No, says Goodwin. We don't have bodies in that other dimension. You catch my drift? It's a no-fucking dimension. Then he sensually helps Dax eat her weird alien fruit. Goodwin drops that they have been in the no-fuck dimension for the last 60 years. That's a long time between meals, marvels O'Brien. Meals clearly being code for something else. Can they talk to each other in this dimension? I'm not quite clear.
It says they're pure consciousness, but he also later says, like, we will be together there, so I get the impression that there's, like, some sort of interaction.
But, like, at one point, the leader lady is like, oh, man, it's good to have some time to, like, get to know each other once again, or something like that.
Oh, yeah, she's like, we'll get to know each other again. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know.
So if you're like alone in that dimension for 60 years, that sounds horrible. But they don't seem to mind it that much, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Back on Deep Space Nine, creepy alien dude comes out of the holosuite and complains to Quark that the sex program wasn't getting it up for him. Quark offers him a picnic with the pleasure goddess of Rix, but creepy alien is not interested. Although I have to say I am curious about this sex picnic situation.
Yeah, he's like, you've never had a picnic like this. Then I'm like, okay, so what? I want to know now.
Yeah, I'd be, okay, you know what? Sign me up. I have to experience this sex picnic at least once.
I had to look this up to see, because I knew that we'd heard of her before, the pleasure goddess of Rix.
Uh-huh.
Apparently she's mentioned 3 times in the series, one of which was in The Homecoming, which we've seen already. And it says, her entry says, the pleasure goddess of Rix was the lead character in several erotic holosuite programs available at Quark's on Deep Space Nine, including A Picnic with Pleasure Goddess of Rix and A Visit with the Pleasure Goddess of Rix.
Oh, just a regular visit? Like,
yeah,
you just go to her house and
exactly.
hang out?
She shares tea or something.
Yeah. You like, watch some TV, just chill out.
Yeah.
So I was kind of wondering, is this just kind of an unpopular program that, like, Quark is just constantly trying to, like, justify being in his library or something?
He's like, I paid so much to license this, I gotta get my money's worth out of it.
It's like, I have, like, a 2-year contract on this sex picnic program. But the alien offers Quark a bar of latinum and a really fake-looking ring to make a deepfake program of Kira. Quark has no moral reservations about this idea, but has no idea how he's going to trick Kira into the holosuite to be recorded. Apparently the writers felt that Quark has just been too likable lately.
Well, it's bizarre to me, actually, because we know from previous experience that holodecks, you just walk in and you're like, hey, show me so-and-so, and they pop up. Like, I don't know why it has to be so complicated to make a copy of Kira. Like, Barclay made copies of everybody on the Enterprise in, like, 5 seconds.
Maybe the Enterprise just had higher grade holodecks or something. I don't know. Or maybe, like, if you want to do certain stuff, you need more detailed, information.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't want to think about it too much. On Meridian, Goodwin explains to Jadzia that they are the descendants of some people who got stranded on the planet millennia ago. Since they can only reproduce in this dimension, and their time here keeps getting shorter and shorter, their numbers have dwindled. Now, I'm not quite clear how this makes logical sense. So, like, do you just, if you're pregnant when you go into the other dimension, do you lose the baby or something?
No, I don't think that was it, but I'm also wondering, it's like, your numbers have dwindled, so do you die over there? Like, are you don't age while you're over there, so I feel like, do you only die when you're here? Because then I'd be like, nah, let's not go back.
So is there stuff over there that can kill your, like, pure consciousness form?
Right.
I don't know. It seems like if they reproduce at the same normal rate and everybody stays on the planet, their population would just grow more and more slowly.
Yeah.
Not decrease. Well, anyway, this is what we're rolling with, apparently. Also, time in this dimension is going to keep getting shorter and shorter until the planet just stops existing in either dimension.
Yeah, and so they don't know how or why the planet moves. They do know that the time is getting shorter, which that would be measurable. I could see that.
Sure.
They also somehow know that when the time gets super short, they'll just cease to exist. I'm like, how could you possibly know that without knowing, like, the root cause here?
Yeah, because this whole thing was sold as, like, a total mystery to them. They don't know. They don't know what makes them bounce back and forth. But they're like, oh, when it gets shorter than a couple of minutes, just everything will cease to exist. Sisko offers the leader lady assistance in stabilizing their shifting situation. And to that purpose, Dax and Goodwin volunteer to go up to the Defiant to run some scans. Sisko's like, I'll go with you, and Dax is like, no, these are very special scans, if you know what I mean.
I almost expected her to be like, no, we're good.
Yeah. I can handle the scans, don't worry. We'll do these scans real good. Quark lures Kira to the bar with a message that Morn wants to see her, which I think is one of the most brilliantly conceived ruses I've ever heard of.
It is. I was kind of like, how's he going to get her? And then it's like, oh yeah, I heard Morn wanted to see me? Like, how does that even...
And she's just like, what the does Morn want to talk to me for? Like, she looks really annoyed, like, being summoned by Morn. But yeah, once she gets there, he announces that she's the 1 millionth customer.
Even though she clearly was not here to buy anything.
Yeah. Well, maybe she's the 1 millionth person to walk through the door or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's completely made up. But yeah, it comes with prizes, which she's weirdly intrigued by.
Well, at first she's like, I don't have time for this stupid whatever you're doing. And then she's like, wait, I've never won anything. Oh my gosh, I want to win stuff. Because who doesn't want to win stuff? That's the real thing.
Yeah, she didn't exactly win the lottery. She wanted like a free bottle of champagne, 5 free Dabo spins, like woo. And wouldn't you know it, a free visit to the holosuite. Kira is delighted and quickly gives her free holosuite program to an ensign whose birthday it is.
Regifting.
Yep. He's like, hey, I hear you have a sexy picnic program.
Yeah, he's going to be all over that.
It's like, ensign so-and-so loves sexy picnics. On the Defiant, Dax has detected some kind of gamma irregularity or something in Meridian's star.
Yeah, it makes Hulks, is what I'm deciding here.
There's a high number of incredible Hulks coming from that star. And so O'Brien launches a probe to go check it out. While they wait for the data to come back from the probe, Dax and Goodwin take a nice walk in the garden. Goodwin invites Dax to climb a tree with him. And incredibly, we get a callback to her fear of heights.
Yep. Which
I think when they brought that up, we were saying they're never going to call that back again.
Right, and then here it is. Although I do have to say that this is I feel like this is a crappy guy to go on a date with who's like, hey, let's go climb this tree. And she's like, actually, I don't want to. I'm scared of heights. And he's like, well, tough shit. We're doing it anyway.
Yeah. Well, they go up there. He's like, look at this view. And it's like a view of like the putting green on a golf course. Or
something. View from 5 feet higher than they were a moment ago that really didn't change anything at all.
It's like, oh, wow. She's like, okay, I want to get out of the tree now. And he's like, okay.
There's a thing in here where somebody mentions, David Livingston is like, the episode was mostly talking. Jonathan got some really nice performances out of Terry and our guest actor. We went back to Huntington Gardens and we found this tree that was great. It was a sweet scene. So like the tree looked fake to me, the way it just has like stair steps a little ways up. But apparently that's just a tree they found and they were like, hey, sweet tree.
Yeah, I was like, that's got to be a fake tree. It's like, but okay. So yeah, they go up the tree. Goodwin charms her into the tree. They go for a kiss, but Dax slips, so they climb back down out of the tree. They walk around the garden some more. I cannot say how tedious this scene was to me. But.
It is a little tedious, and then he like pulls some berries out, and
he reaches down into like a gross looking pond and pulls out a
mud berries.
Bunch of grapes, like the kind you would get from the grocery store.
I was like, don't eat that. That's probably not good.
That's got like pond scum on it. But anyway, they sit down. Yeah. Also, what's going on with Dax's trousers in this scene? Did you notice? It was like they're stuck to her shoes somehow, but I couldn't figure out how.
Oh, I did not notice that. Her pants looked kind of strange to me, but I couldn't kind of put my finger on it. I was like, maybe it's just because she stretched her legs out into the middle of the frame and I'm seeing them more directly than I usually do.
It's like they kind of, you have that like strap that goes around the bottom of your shoe or whatever sometimes to keep your pants cuffs down.
Sure.
But I couldn't see that or anything. It's just like her pants are like somehow like glued to her shoes or something. I don't know. Just one of those things. The scene was so boring, I had to look for something to keep me interested.
What I kept noticing in this scene was, I was just like, for a place that it's like non-corporeal for most of the time, it's really neatly trimmed grass.
Right.
Like it is cropped down low.
Well, I mean, all they need to do is mow it before they leave, and then it'll still be mowed when they get back, right?
It's true. But there's only 30 people in the village. They can't be mowing everything.
Yeah. I'm sure one guy's job is to maintain the gardens or something. I don't know.
Also, pause first. We didn't discuss the title at the beginning with our title section.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like Melora. It's just like the name of the planet.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's about as on the nose as you can get, probably. There's a note in here that Mark Garrett O'Connell's original title for the episode was Prophet in the Wind, with the prophet with a PH, not the Quark Ferengi version.
I mean, that must have been a radically different version of the episode.
Right, yeah. There's no profit anything or wind really involved here. So, yeah, I don't know what that would be referring to.
So, yeah, kind of a meh title, but what you gonna do? I mean, I don't object to it. But it's like, okay, we go to a planet called Meridian. The title is Meridian.
Yeah, it's plain. And honestly, my biggest issue with it is actually that, yes, the title is called Meridian, but Meridian is also just like a word.
Yeah.
So if I was like looking through a list of episodes and I saw that, I would assume that it was referencing something else and not the name of the planet. I would not remember it was the name of the planet from this episode.
You think they were like surveying a meridian or something on a planet? So what happens? Dax and Goodwin start kissing, and then they lay down and do some lay down kissing, and then the scene is finally over. Later, they pore over the probe data, but they can't find anything that could be causing the dimensional shifts. O'Brien was able to get the probe to go a little deeper, if you know what I mean. And Dax and Goodwin get to work analyzing it. Although Goodwin wants to do other stuff, as he has been a disembodied consciousness for the last 60 years.
Yep.
She's like, no, we gotta work now, play later. Trust me, you can count my spots later. It's like, let's count each other's spots. It's like, I count 0 spots on that guy. After presumably several exciting hours of data analysis, Dax has a eureka moment. There's an imbalance of fusion reactants in the star's core, or something. Woo! If they can stabilize the reaction, they can keep the planet here longer. But I guess not until it disappears again. Later, Kira and Odo are standing around the promenade for some reason when Odo catches Quark recording them with a holo camera. Quark continues recording, even though he's obviously been caught, and Kira and Odo are coming right towards him.
Yeah, it's just... I do like Odo's bit of business where he's like, hey, Quark's trying to take a picture of you. And Kira's like, what? No, I think it's both of them. And he's like, no. Like, Odo has watched and figured out what's going on before he mentions it.
Uh-huh.
And I love that little note to his character that he sees Quark pointing a camera, he does some tests to figure out exactly what Quark is trying to do, and then he calls it out.
Yep, some good police work there.
Yeah.
And it's like, it makes it sound like Quark can hear what they're talking about. It's like, why is Quark recording us? But
it does make it sound like he can hear them, but he just keeps going. Yeah,
he just keeps on recording.
It's so bizarre.
And then, like, even when they're like pointing at him and walking towards him angrily, he's like, "Yep, oh, nothing going wrong here." But yeah, Quark tries to play it off like he's making basically a Star Trek Deep Space Nine video game. But Kira's no fool. She knows what's going on, and she gives Quark a stern warning that she will, I forget what she said, she's going to like shove that camera down his throat or something like that. Yeah. Something unpleasant.
I love how instantly Odo and Kira are 100% certain that he is trying to make a sex program of her.
Yeah.
And no matter what he says, they're like, yeah, no, we know what you're going for, and we're not going to stand for it.
We know what you're about, Quark. We know what goes on in those holosuites. We know nobody's going to that sex picnic program. But anyway, that scene's over, you might be saying. But then we cut to Dax and Goodwin making out in that garden some more.
Yep.
Dax reports that they'll be able to equalize the time between dimensional shifts. Goodwin says that he's going to build a new house and invites Dax to consider it a second home. Unfortunately, the shift is about to happen again, and that won't be possible for another 60 years. Well, then I'll just come with you to the Alpha Quadrant, says Goodwin. So they go to break the news to the leader lady, but she's excited and making plans for the 30 years they're going to have after their next 60-year trip to the no-fuck dimension. And then so it's like, okay, well, I'll go do those plans or whatever. Later, Dax is hanging out in the bunk bed room with Bashir, who suggests that now Quark will stop letting her win at Tongo.
She is outraged by this claim.
This naturally upsets Dax. Goodwin shows up and says he's made the announcement and he's ready to go back to the Alpha Quadrant. But he's got to go back and say goodbye to some people first, which I'm a little suspicious about what he's doing here. I think he's going back for one last little you know what with those other ladies that like him.
Well, yeah, they all need like, fuck buddies because they're only around for so long, and there's no time for the flirting and the dating and the stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's like we have like 10 minutes, and then we got to go back to the disembodied consciousness dimension for the next 60 years. So let's eat these yummy steaks or except they seem to be vegetarians because all they eat are like bell peppers and squash and stuff. So yeah, creepy alien confronts Quark about the lack of progress on the Kira sex program, and Quark assures him that he got a new hacking thingy to get the necessary data. However, Odo detects Quark's intrusion into the personnel files. "Let's arrest him," says Odo. "No, I have a better idea," says Kira. Which, really, was this a better idea? But
yeah, I don't. So, as the chief of security, good on Odo for having caught the hack. If he hadn't, then I would be saying impolite things about his chief of security-ness. Yeah. But I agree that also as chief of security, he was he should be arresting Quark, and they should not be letting Quark get away with major crimes by in exchange for practical jokes.
Yeah, that's a pretty... First of all, the fact that he can do that is pretty serious. Like, that he has this thing that can let him just, like, hack into their military records or whatever.
Yeah.
So hopefully Odo remembered to confiscate that from him. But back on Meridian, Dax and Goodwin are sharing a quiet moment while Dax tries to explain Tongo's strategy. Goodwin feels uneasy about leaving the planet and decides they need him too much or something.
My thing is, I don't think 30 people was going to be enough to restart your society with a decent genetic pool in the first place. But in addition to that, or I guess as an extension of that, I don't think 29 people is going to make that much of a difference versus the 30.
True. I mean, maybe they have a big sperm bank laying around from before times or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, Dax is like, that's okay. I can just turn myself into a dimensional shifter with a transporter or something. Thinking ahead, she already worked it out with Bashir.
Well, it's bizarre because it's like, no, I'll have to match my whatever to yours. But these guys are the descendants of people who crashed on the planet. Those people weren't from here originally either. So how come they can do that?
That's that I also had that thought. But whatever. So Dax puts in for a 60-year leave of absence, which apparently gets approved. And Sisko comes in to try to talk her out of it. But she won't be moved, and they say some warm goodbyes. Creepy alien shows up at Quark's to try out the new holosuite program. He navigates his way through a moodily lit maze of gossamer curtains, finally parting them to reveal sexy woman with the head of Quark. He's like, "I've been waiting for you." At first he seems intrigued, but soon changes his mind and storms down and threatens to ruin Quark if it takes him the rest of his life.
So, the original idea here was apparently that, yes, it would be a nanovisitor, and they would replace her head with Quark head. And so they were going to have her wear like this big foam head that they would be able to, shove Quark's head into later. But having just come off of that other episode where the makeup was making her claustrophobic, apparently when they put the big foam head on her, she freaked out and just could not do it. So they had her body double step in and do the body part of this scene.
Sure. I mean, I would never know the difference. So
yeah. I mean, so her let's see, the body double is Leah Burrow, I guess, to give her proper credit. And Leah Burrow's entry in Memory Alpha is that image of Quark's head on a woman's body.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it's like, were they worried some like ultra perverts were going to be watching and be like, "That's not Nana Visitor"? I don't know. Kira and Odo look on in mild amusement, and that's the end of that story. Dax completes her transporter treatment, which apparently took 6 hours of just getting transported, I guess, continuously.
Which you really shouldn't notice the time if you're in the transporter the whole time, and no point complaining about it.
Yeah, I don't know. They're always playing loosey-goosey with how the transporter works.
It's true.
So she says goodbye to all her friends. She beams down to the planet to begin her 60-year stint in the no-fuck dimension. However, when the shift starts, the planet starts shaking, and all the other people start ghostifying and freaking out. But not Dax. Up above, they figure out that Dax is messing with the shift somehow, like being an anchor between dimensions. So I guess the transporter treatment didn't work. And they beam her out before the planet gets destroyed. Which the planet doesn't get destroyed. It presumably goes to the other dimension.
Yeah, the new boyfriend guy must be really disappointed.
Yeah. We end with Cisco trying to console Dax about the situation, but she says she just needs some time. I'm sure in 60 years, whoever has the Dax symbiote is totally going to go back to Meridian and meet up with Goodwin. The end of that episode.
Maybe not the end of Meridian. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it'll show up again, and or in a book. Maybe there's a book about it. Let's find out.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, apparently there's a Meridian planet in the Alpha Quadrant also, and native to that planet is a Meridian house cat.
Oh.
Okay, first I'm looking up this Federation world. Meridian was a planet in the vicinity of Federation space in the 23rd century, home to a unique animal life form, the Meridian house cat. And this is from the original series novel, Prime Directive. Okay.
Oh, so it's not even an actual show thing.
No, this is all in memory beta that I'm on to see if there was.
Sure.
I was trying to find out if there was a book about where they come back here somehow. Okay, Meridian, the planet in the Gamma Quadrant. Let's see if it ever comes up again. In Q's Guide to the Continuum, Q once commented that he would like to have stranded William Riker on Meridian.
Okay.
That's it.
Wow.
Okay, so yeah, I guess no one goes back to Meridian ever. Who knows if they she was like, it's gonna take us too long to stabilize the whatever.
Yeah.
But so did the Defiant have to hang around, like shooting a beam at something afterwards, or
who knows? After they just left. They were like, you know what? Forget those guys.
Random other funny bits from the production of this episode that I was just like, this is ridiculous. The television report for the fourth day of production, Monday, 26th of September, 1994, mentions that a gardener from Huntington Garden backed his truck into a production van from Paramount Pictures. No damage or injuries occurred, but there was a transporter accident report.
What?
So that's the kind of detail you can get in here.
Was that supposed to be like a joke?
No, I don't think it is. And then the last bullet under that section is, according to the television production report for the final day of filming, Friday, September 30th, the production of this episode was 0.6 hours under budget. So,
wow.
Congrats, everybody. We came in.
Good job, Frakes.
40 minutes under budget or whatever.
It's like, let's use another half hour on that Quark sexy lady. I was trying to figure out how they did that effect, though. If it was like an editing effect, because it was like you see the female body and then it pans up. And then
yeah, so let's see. It just says it required her to wear a foam rubber head, which would then be replaced by Quark's head. So
I was just trying to see if like there's some trickery where like her head goes under a pillow or something, and then his head he's like, sticking his head through a hole in the bed or something. I don't know.
In my mind, it's like it's a big foam rubber head and it's green, so they just green screen.
That sounds a little advanced for Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but
apparently they were using green screen in that scene where Jadzia is on the planet while everything's disappearing. But
sure,
probably not terribly surprising.
That was the kind of effect I generally expect from Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Jeffrey Combs comments, because this was his first Star Trek episode. He's like, "Oh, I was so excited! It was my first time on a Star Trek set. I remember there being a lot of hair." Because I was a new alien, they kept making me change my hairstyle. They'd take Polaroids and then come back 30 minutes later and change the hair again. That got to be annoying. That's honestly what I remember about it.
Nice. I kind of wonder if every Jeffrey Combs character we meet from this point forward is actually that guy in disguise, executing like a really deep plan to undo Quark.
That would actually be amazing. I mean, all Liquidator Brunt is the only one you really need. So
right.
Also, apparently, this guy. Speaking of that guy, in one of the Star Trek books, Star Trek Mirror Universe Shards and Shadows anthology, his Mirror Universe counterpart appears.
The Mirror Universe counterpart of the Perv alien.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he like married to Kira, or is he like married to the intendant?
That's why it's exactly the opposite. Hold on, let's see. The story is called A Terrible Beauty that he appears in this. Let's see if I can find any information. Oh, I like there's a DS9 novel called Legends of the Ferengi where Quark mentions that he thought Tyrion was a loser. In the Mirror universe, he was a male alien. He was a slave in the service of the Klingon-Cardassian alliance in the mines of Korvat. He was one of several escapees who fled to Terok Nor. He was a member or sympathizer of Memory Omega, which is, I don't know what that is, but I'll have to research that later because it sounds interesting. Worked with Keiko Ishikawa on a plan to get her a much higher position in the Terran Rebellion. Tyron accused her of continuing to work for the Alliance and later shot Keiko, who used a soporific to make it appear that she was dead. Okay. Well, there you go.
Why did it have to be this guy?
I don't. Yeah, there's nothing about that sounds like it needed to be this guy, but whatever.
So you would expect it's like he would try to make a sexy hologram program of the intendant, and then she would find out and just murder him.
That would be funny.
Or like she would make him be on the other side of that program.
Yeah, she's interested in him and makes a hologram about him.
No, it's the exact same plot, but just like the roles are reversed.
The intendant can get whatever she wants, though. So
she's like, Quark, make me a sexy hologram program of that creepy guy. I'll give you 1 bar of latinum. She
killed Quark already. I guess it could have been before that.
Oh yeah, that's true. Wait, did that happen?
Yeah, we saw Quark die. Or, I mean, Garrick's technically the one who did it, but...
Didn't they, like, drag him away or something like that?
Yeah, they dragged him away, and then, like, later they're like, yeah, during his interrogation he said this stuff. Oh, maybe they don't say that he's dead. I thought they did, but I might be wrong. We won't spoil anything big, like when Mirror Universe Quark returns and turns out to be the Emperor.
Yeah. Anything's possible.
Okay, so... Before we go into ratings, there's some very interesting stuff under the reception section for this episode.
Sure.
Apparently, the people who worked on the episode generally do not feel like this was a real strong episode.
You don't say.
Hillary J. Bader says, of all the stories I've done for Star Trek, Meridian is my least favorite. While Ronald D. Moore claims, I don't think anyone likes the show. I don't think we like the show. This one just went wrong. It never gelled.
As opposed to like Storyteller and like...
that one really gelled.
What's Move Along Home?
Where
like the writers are constantly like, I thought the episode wasn't that bad.
Visual effects supervisor Glenn Neufield says, a classic case of making it up as we go. I don't want to talk about it. But I think my favorite quote is about the story script where Ira Stephen Bear, who is an admirer of Brigadoon and confesses that he originated the idea of making an episode based on that musical. It says, of his idea to do a Star Trek show based on Brigadoon, Bear says, I am a moron. And that was the end of that quote.
Wow. Everybody's just washing their hands of this episode.
Mark Garrett O'Connell is in here, and it's like, so yeah, it's basically Outer Space Brigadoon with Dax as Gene Kelly. And it's a fun story. We know that Dax has had a lot of romantic entanglements over 300 years, but this is the first time that Jadzia Dax has fallen in love. That's the angle on which I'm building the script. There isn't a lot of jeopardy or danger. There's not any bad guys. It's kind of like Second Sight in that way. But it has emotional weight for Dax, and it's very appealing.
Okay.
Let me see. What else do people say about this one? Ira Stephen Bear also later in the reception section says there's some nice things in it, but to make the show really work, we would have needed another $200,000 for opticals. I don't think that was the part that was holding me back.
Yeah, what do you need these opticals for? Like, first of all, I gotta say some of the there's some definitely new Defiant effects in there. So
we got the probe coming out and stuff.
Yeah. What? $200,000 for opticals? What do you want to do?
We were trying to create a story that was not tech oriented, yet there were all these tech questions that had to be answered. What do they wear? How do they live? How do you tell a love story in 30 minutes? It's really difficult. I can't say as a love story that the show was really successful.
I think that's a pretty decent analysis.
Terry Farrell says that she loved working with Jonathan.
Sure.
I assume Frakes. But to be honest, did not think that the love story worked well. Thinks there were other episodes of Love Story that worked better. I don't think Meridian was as emotionally honest as some other episode. I just fell in love with this guy. Boom. Many people enjoyed that show, and as an actress, I did too, especially the scene where I have to say goodbye to Avery Brooks. Those kinds of scenes are very easy to play with Avery because he's so supportive of me. If it hadn't been for Avery, I don't know if I would have gotten through our first season. So that's nice that she's like, oh yeah, he just supports the hell out of me. Yeah. Renee Echevarria, I think it's Ira's sister, is the one who said that it seemed like an original series episode, and I'll take that as a compliment.
I was kind of wondering, like, was this a leftover Next Gen script? But apparently not. Apparently they just wanted to do Brigadoon in space.
Yep.
Because it was such a lame, like, oh, we're going to take the Defiant out. Oh, shoot, what's going on over there? Let's check that out.
Something weird over there. Let's fly in there and show up just in time for the planet to appear.
It's like whenever you start off and we're just like already in a runabout in the Gamma Quadrant, you immediately know like what's going on. Except now we have the Defiant.
Yep.
So, I want to make a little, before we get into ratings, I want to make a little comment about this deep fake plot, which first of all, I honestly don't know what the intended like point of the plot was. Because I think we might have been getting to a time when like internet fake nudie pics were becoming a thing. Because News Radio did an episode about this exact same concept, didn't they? Where like naked pics of what's her face got on the internet and she was trying to get him out.
No, I don't remember. There was an episode where Beth takes naked pictures of herself to send to her overseas boyfriend, and then doesn't use Polaroids, but gets them developed, and then people like they there's a joke about somebody's like, hey, when I got my film developed, they threw in some nudie pictures of you for free, and she's like, what? And he's like, no, I'm kidding.
No, I swear that was okay. Hold on. News Radio fake nude pics episode.
Just News Radio fake nude pics. I'm sure that'll come up with
nude pics. Oh yeah, maybe I'm thinking of a completely different show. Joe tries to find out who has been stealing his gelato.
Yep, that's a good one.
I must be thinking of a totally different sitcom, and I do not remember which one it is now. Oh well.
See, I'm trying to Google what sitcom this was on, and I'm finding the weirdest things, like app that can remove women's clothes from images shut down.
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
Yeah. No matter how I Google this, it doesn't come up with anything actually useful. Swarm nude scene. Was Rory Culkin's penis real? Is the TV series Naked and Afraid scripted?
Okay, wait. In the episode Physical Graffiti, Bill and Catherine are being egged on by Joe in an escalating series of practical jokes that culminates with naked pictures of both on some newfangled mid-90s invention called the internet.
I'd forgotten that, where they fake the pictures of... Yeah, okay, no, you're right.
Okay. So I'm not totally crazy. Although that was weirdly hard to Google. So anyway, my point was... I don't know if this was like a topical thing at the time this was being aired, or I don't know. It's just a really creepy plot, is what I'm saying. I don't know if it was intended to be funny or make a commentary on this new issue of people getting their face put on other people's naked pics.
There's really almost nothing in the notes about that subplot except for the details about Jeffrey Combs.
Huh. Well, it gave us Jeffrey Combs, at least, anyway.
Yep.
You know, with that, I'm ready to dive into ratings, if you are.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
All right. How would you rate this episode?
Fine. Let me think. I don't hate it. I don't find anything all that good about it. It's like, I don't know that I would go along with the people who worked on the show and be like, nah, this is the worst show of the season. I don't feel that strongly about it. I'm just like, it is bizarre that Dax just falls in love with a guy in a day and is like, okay, I'm going to like throw away the next 60 years of life to hang out with this guy.
Right.
Like, geez, you're going to have some, like, buyer's remorse there real fast, probably, I feel like, but whatever. And Cisco's just like, Well, I've never known Jadzia to do anything without thinking it through. And I'm like, I don't think you've been watching all the same episodes that I have, quite honestly, if that's your take. But, so I don't think it's good, but I don't think it's that bad. Like, it's not going to go down to ensign for me. Honestly, the question is, like, is this a lieutenant or a lieutenant junior grade? Like, that's, and probably, I would probably just make it a lieutenant. I think it's just meh.
Huh. A just below the line lieutenant, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't stay in this episode. I'm giving it an ensign.
Okay.
I just felt like I was ping-ponging back and forth between absolute boredom and absolute boredom combined with squeamish discomfort. Like, there's one point when I was like, how much longer is left in this episode? And I looked and it was only halfway over, and I was like,
My Paramount Plus did crash, and I was like, oh, the episode must be almost over when I loaded it back. I'm like, oh no, I'm only 25 minutes in. Okay.
Paramount Plus has been a little weird with me lately, but yeah, back to what I was saying though. I just do not like the episode.
Fair.
Easily the weakest of the season so far for me. I don't blame those guys for not thinking it was good. I was just like, oh, these guys are in love now, I guess. Oh, they're taking another walk through the garden. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I guess if you don't count the one that I just despise for no particular reason,
right?
Then it's probably the weakest one so far for me as well. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about it that way. I just assume that there's worse coming up in the season.
Yeah, and well, weirdly, I remember this episode, but I only remembered the deepfake part. This Meridian plot was completely new to me, suggesting that, like, it just erased itself out of my memory. And I fully understand why.
Yeah.
And, well, also just, like, I'm just continue to be so baffled at what they were getting at with this weird Kira sex program plot.
Yeah.
But, it's just like, am I supposed to find it funny, or am I supposed to find it disturbing?
Loading up the episode, I read like the one sentence description, and I was like, Dax falls in love with what? I did not remember that at all. And then when the actual episode started, I was like, oh, I have a vague recollection of this story. And then the other storyline with Kira, I was like, oh, I have a vague so both of them I kind of sort of remembered a tiny bit, but not much, and not that they were related in any way.
Yeah. You got any other?
There's just so much random stuff in here that I'm just like, it's like, on Thursday the 22nd, there was a 25-minute delay in production due to makeup and hair delays for Renee Auberjonois. The Grip, Tom Bookout, was ill and went home and was replaced by Joe Cantu. I'm just like, why do you know this, and why do I need to know this?
Did somebody get their hands on I don't even know what that would be, like the production, like, daily notes or something that was just like, oh, the old key grip is sick, had to go home.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So on the first day of filming, here's the one that I remembered and I didn't. It has remarks for Avery Brooks and Colin Meaney to have a haircut after they finished filming their scenes for Civil Defense. Siddig El Fadil also received a haircut. So, all right, thanks.
There must just be a guy whose job it is to write all this stuff down, and somehow that found its way into the hands of a Memory Alpha editor.
I guess so. And
for this one episode.
Well, I was like, was this in other episodes? And I'm like stoned and I didn't read it. And so I had to go back to the previous episode. No, it sure was not there. And then I went forward to the next episode and it sure is there.
Huh.
So these weird details, I don't know how long. They may continue popping up for the rest of this run. I don't know.
So maybe whoever's job that is, like, started working this episode. And
okay, hold on. I went 2 episodes forward, and the one after next does not have those details. So maybe it's just 2
weird.
episodes that do for some reason.
Very weird. Anyway, let's stop talking about stuff that I'm gonna have to edit out. So,
yep.
Last points before we wrap up.
I want to see Brigadoon now.
You can tell me how it is.
Apparently, spoiler for the ending of it, they did not choose to go this way with the end of this episode. Apparently, so like Dax, Gene Kelly falls in love with someone who lives there, and then the village disappears in front of him, or maybe around him. I haven't read the details. And so he's separated from his love. But then Later, he comes back and the village reappears, and they're like, basically, wow, your love was so powerful that it caused a miracle and brought us back.
That would have been a weird ending for the episode.
Right, yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, your love was so strong. It's like, that's what overcomes the gamma bursts from the sun. Love. Okay, so I think that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so that does it for us today. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. As always, check out the description, where you may find links to interesting things. I'm sure there's like a full Brigadoon on YouTube or something. I'm Fletcher, about to say goodbye as Data.
I tried to think of something equally pretentious for goodbye, and I'm not doing it. Farewell.
Valedictions? I don't know. Until next time, do not forget to kiss the Negus stick.
It was funny that Allison Fordyce is like, wait,
Yeah.
you're really going to stick with that?
That's what we're doing.
Okay, let me stop my record.
Okay, I'm going to hit stop on this.